Don't fall into the hype of, oh, just have one passion and put all your time into that. Developing new hobbies. When I say hobbies, I'm not talking about, oh, I'm trying to become an esports gamer, so I'm playing League of Legends competitively. Shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear, oh, I want to be an expert YouTube reviewer, so I'm catching up on all the Netflix episodes of Lost that I've missed out in my childhood. No, the fuck you're not. Get an actual productive hobby that has to be either spiritually developing, mentally developing, or physically developing. Personal training. You could join like a sports club because that's physical. That's something where you network with people. These could be your clients. So then you're combining that with your amazing business idea. Now you're able to have a pitch. Now you're able to get rid of that social anxiety so you're comfortable talking to people. Is it a spiritual hobby? Is it meditation? Is it Reiki? Is it, jewelry making? Is it like an arts and craft? Is it something mentally stimulating? Is it chess? Is it on the side you like to carpentry? You like to build stuff? You like to be a glass blower? Put your eggs in different baskets. Make sure the eggs are not like bullshit eggs.
Was eating to live, yeah, I'm living to eat. Catch me enjoying vegan recipes. Fame for chlorophyll.
Greetings, it's your boy Gartatia. Today I want to stress the importance of having multiple hobbies, having multiple things that get your blood going, having multiple things in life that turn you on, having multiple passions in life that just, charge your battery and just gets you hyped. A lot of people, we see people, they go to high school, they take AP classes, they go to college, say for coding, they learn how to code, they learn how to build apps and programs and softwares degree. They graduate with a 3.5, they get into a nice, good corporate job, upper echelon. They're making good money, but they're ambitious. Their ambition is eating them up. They want to start their own thing. They start their own thing, and they don't have any clients at first. They finally, put in the work, get the clients, and they are out there freelance, software developing, making code, etc., etc. A lot of people come to mind. These people, they do get a measure of success because they are pouring their creative energy all into their passion, which is great. A lot of times though, other departments of their life tends to fall apart. Their social part of their life falls apart. Their physical part of their life falls apart. Their health falls apart. So yes, they're putting 90%, some 95% into their main purpose, but that 5%, that extra 5% is being put towards food or like just the bare things to survive, like to take a shit, to take a shower. Sometimes they don't even shower. So it's like if you put 95% of your energy into one thing, then you will get, all your output will be in that one thing and you may grow exponentially. But what we see is a lot of times these people hit a plateau. They hit a plateau because there's two ways to grow. You can grow by working in your business and you can grow by working on your business. And I keep coming back to this concept because it just needs to be stressed because I see a lot of people overlook it. A lot of times, if you're constantly working in your business, constantly working on the client's projects, constantly acquiring new clients, busy on their projects, yes, you're making money, but are you making progress? Are you strategizing? Are you planning, okay, this is the future connection that I need to make so that instead of making 10K months, I can make a 20K month. I can make a 30K month. I can make a 40K month. Not because I'm working harder, but because I'm working smarter. It's not what you know, it's who you know. A lot of times to get to these next levels, that happens by scaling. And how you scale is by getting other people to be able to do what you do for you. And the way to do that is you need to have leadership skills. You need to have management skills. You need to have skills in other departments that will allow you to be an effective leader. So what do I say to that? Me personally, I can only speak on my personal experience. I started off, my main thing was music. I had my main engineering job, but that was already decided like pretty much a year after college, a year working in corporate. I was like, yeah, that's not for me. I needed something else. So I did like a year and then I was like, music. My whole thing was like, I'm gonna be a rapper. I'm gonna be the greatest rapper. So I would like go to work and then pour like the rest of my time just into music. So like writing down lyrics, studio time, making melodies, just all my extra time was just spent in music. And at that time, of course, too, that was before COVID. So I was still partying and like hanging out and stuff. But like pretty much say if I had 2 extra hours a day like after work, say if I had 4 hours a day like after work, 2 of those hours would be spent like working on my music, and then 2 would be like watching Netflix, chilling, or some shit like that. So basically, most of my time, my free time, was spent on the music. Now, what happened was I was just making music. I was just making music, and then I find myself kind of, and like I look back on my music. Yes, I was making a lot of music, but I was looking at the quality. I was like, the quality wasn't that good. It was with the same producers. It was the same lyrics. I wasn't really pushing myself as far as like creativity wise, right? I felt uninspired. The music felt uninspired, even though it was a lot. I was feeding my fans. They were like, "Oh, Gartasia hungry. Gartasia applying pressure, heat, right?" And I'm like, okay, yeah. And people even gas you up because a lot of times your friends don't want to put you down. A lot of times your friends don't want to seem like haters. A lot of times your friends are just happy you're just doing anything, to be honest, because they've seen who you used to be. So they're like, okay, this is a step up from Mr. Frat guy, party guy. So we'll support whatever he does. So a lot of times you kind of can't really look at like the feedback you get from your friends because it's usually deceptive. You just have to go with what you're feeling. And I'm not going to say it was my feeling that told me to take a step back and take on other hobbies. Actually, COVID was a blessing because COVID happened. Suddenly, we're working from home, and suddenly I have all this extra time. So now, instead of just making music, I've always went to the gym. So I won't really call that one. I was pretty consistent in the gym. But now I was looking more into maybe I could be a personal trainer, right? So I kind of start studying like personal training. I start studying meditation. I start studying yoga, right? And just counting on my fingers here. Obviously, the podcast. I started doing the podcast. I didn't really start doing YouTube videos like that, but I'll include it. I started doing YouTube videos, and then I started doing YouTube videos and yeah, that's pretty much it. I can't think of any more. I do so many things. Sometimes I forget the things that I do. But I say all this to say, just with that extra time, I just started exploring these little like, curiosities I had. Like, what if I had a podcast? What if I uh, took yoga serious? What if I was able to, master my mind with meditation? So I just dove really deep into these different topics, not expecting anything out of them, just out of curiosity because they interested me. And then, and people are like, okay, how did you do all of this? Didn't like music take a back seat? It did. And that's the thing. Sometimes your main purpose sometimes has to take a back seat so for you to explore other stuff, because a lot of times if you're not on drugs, a lot of times if you're not hanging out all the time, a lot of times if you're not out here, you know, being a hoe, if you're not drinking your life away or like hooked up on drugs or like Adderall and shit, you need things to keep you stimulated. A lot of times your purpose alone, it either it can't keep you stimulated so that you don't need these other things 100% of the time, or B, it keeps you mostly stimulated, but then you reach a peak, you reach a plateau where like you're not growing anymore. You've reached your creative limit. So sometimes you need to take a break from the main purpose that you're doing, quote unquote, music for me, which is I'm currently on a break from music, focus on these other purposes, and I'm feeling more creativity towards music. So when I come back, it's going to be strong. That's why you see Kendrick will disappear for like 5 years and then drop like a complete banger on our heads, because sometimes he probably just stepped away. Like he's taking trips to Ghana, he's touring the world, he's just like relaxing his brain, thinking about other stuff, and then that allows the creativity to be stronger. So I say this to say, working on these other things, right? Not only were those things able to like grow to points where it's like, oh, the podcast is just for fun. And look at that now. That's like, people think the podcast, that's like my main thing, but people don't know my music was actually my main thing. But that's what happens when you work on other side stuff for fun. You'll see like, oh, the side stuff are actually like what I'm known for. The side thing will become your main thing, right? Or your main moneymaker, your main piece of leverage, your main way to network. It would just become something major. And it's called I think it's called the 80-20 rule. And the 80-20 rule, it's called Pareto's principle. Essentially, it's 20% of, if out of 80% of the work or the effort that you do, only 20% of that work brought you 80% of the results. And another rule is like, if there's like an office building or a place where a lot of people have to work together, it's always that if you have 5 people, right, out of the 4 people who are doing work, 80% of the work will come from one person or the 2 people. Or what's 20%? So that's one person. So 1 out of 5 person is doing 80% of the work. So that's pretty much how it is. It's, if you only are doing one thing, there is no room for the 80-20 rules to operate because you're doing 100% on one thing. But when you have multiple different things, a lot of times, for example, I'm doing Muay Thai, yoga, I do personal training, music, and the podcast, and YouTube, right? Let's take the Muay Thai out. So I'm doing the YouTube, the podcast, the yoga, meditation, and personal training, right? That's 5 things. So because I'm doing 5 different things, there's a high chance that one of those things, if I put skill into it, if I put time into it, if I put effort into it, based on Pareto's principle, there's a high chance that one of those things is going to bring me 80% of my output, 80% of my manifestations, 80% of blessings coming my way, 80% of just rewards from the hard work I put out. People think life is just a one-to-one machine. People think that if I have $1 and you have $1, people think that people are going to want to buy your dollar from my dollar. If I give you $1 and you give me $1, we both gain nothing. People don't buy from you for something of equal value. People buy from you because what you have has greater value than them. If someone gives you $1 and I give them $10, people will gladly do that trade. Even if I give them $5 and they give them $1, people will value that. But people will not trade. Some people don't buy things because they perceive that the money is worth the same thing as the thing they're getting. People only exchange their money when they believe that their money is less than the worth that you're giving to them, or the worth that you're giving to them is greater than the worth that they are giving to you in the form of money. So going back to value, it's the same principle, right? If you're working on 5 different things, what happens is if you put in the time on those 5 different things, right? So meditation, I'm meditating every day. The yoga, I'm going outside in the wintertime, damn near risking frostbite, but I'm making sure I'm getting in that time, getting in those 10,000 hours. The personal training, I'm going to the gym as much as I can, studying the proper form, studying proper ways to do abs, studying proper ways to keep my back safe from injuries, right? The podcast, I'm constantly watching interviews. I'm constantly reading audiobooks, seeing how I can ask better questions, how I can get into flow state and really immerse my audience and make them comfortable. YouTube videos, I'm buying $400 per hour consulting services of what's the 80-20, what's the one thing I can change that will give me 80% of my results. I'm improving my thumbnails. I'm improving my intros. So I'm putting in all this work in all 5 of these areas so that the way the rule works, the Pareto's principle rules work. If you're putting in work in all 5 of these areas, one of those areas is going to give you 80% of the results you see. And what's beautiful is I'm actually seeing that happen right now. I didn't go into these like 4 or 5 different things that I'm doing like, oh, I want results out of them. I did them because I genuinely got joy out of it. But what's happening for the yoga thing, for example, I was just going into yoga because it made me feel good. I was just doing yoga because like it felt cool. I felt relieved, relaxed. It healed my brain. But now yoga is the main thing that I'm building a community towards. I'm doing classes. I am getting a following. People are being able to interact with me and see my presence not only on social media but in real life. A, and B, my clientele. I'm getting clients who pay me, which is a great source of income. In addition to my main job, that music wasn't giving me, the podcast wasn't giving me, PT wasn't giving me, YouTube, none of those were giving me that. But who would you expect? Yoga is the one that is giving me the most money. So it's one of those things where you go into it not expecting anything, but you end up getting more than you could expect in the long run because you put in the time and then you let the time work for you instead of you work for the time. And yeah, so yoga is blessing me now. And I say this to say, yes, I know a lot of you all are, tunnel vision, locked in, buckle your seatbelts, let's go, pedal to the metal, working on your purpose, that's fantastic. You're already in the top 20%. But what's gonna not only accelerate you to like the top 1% or take your stuff to the next level is, in addition to, maybe you don't put in 95% of your time in your main purpose. Maybe you put in 60%, which is still considerable, but maybe instead of with that other percent, you're not there jerking off. You're not on there on Discord servers talking about all the stuff you're doing. No, you're not watching self-improvement videos instead of action improvement. No, with that extra time, you are developing new hobbies, right? And when I say hobbies, I'm not talking about, I'm trying to become an esports gamer, so I'm playing fucking League of Legends competitively. Shut the fuck up. No, you're not. I don't want to hear, I want to be an expert YouTube reviewer, so I'm catching up on all the Netflix episodes of Lost that I've missed out in my childhood. No, the fuck you're not. Get an actual productive hobby or, extra purpose that you pick on that it has to meet at least one of these criteria. It has to be either spiritually developing, mentally developing, or physically developing. So a personal training, even sports, yeah. You could join like a sports club because that's physical. That's something where you network with people. Anything that's like socially you're networking with people and that's good for your body, I'm with it because these could be your clients. These are people you're cleaning up your social skills with, right? So then you're combining that with your amazing business idea. Right? Now you're able to have a pitch. Now you're able to get rid of that social anxiety so you're comfortable talking to people. I'm down with it. Is it a spiritual hobby? Is it meditation? Is it Reiki? Is it, jewelry making? Is it like an arts and craft? Is it art? Some people just do art like painting. That's all that is great because that's stimulating spiritually, right? Is it something mentally stimulating? Is it chess? Is it a chess club? Is it on the side you like to, carpentry? You like to build stuff. You like to be a glass blower. Just something that either engages your mind, spirit, or soul, mind, body, or soul. That is a great extra hobby to pick on. And if you do that and get a few of those, don't overwhelm yourself, but get one or two. I challenge you to get one or two of these hobbies. And don't worry if you're like completely not head over heels at first. Just give them a chance. I wasn't head over heels with yoga at first. It's over time that I just grew to love it. So sometimes you got to get through that kind of butterfly phase. And then, that's when you're able to see it for what it really is. If it's good for you, stick with it. If it's not, discard it. But yeah, I hope this gave you some clarity. Don't fall into the hype of, just have one passion and put all your time into that. Do put your eggs in different baskets, but make sure the eggs are not like bullshit eggs. Make sure they're actual things that you do enjoy, that do bring you value. Most importantly, that also if it brings others value, great, but make sure it brings you value. And it's always good to have something to fall back on. If your main passion doesn't work out, guess what? You have 4 other things that you could work out on, so you don't completely miss out. But yeah, I hope this helped. And yeah, as always, stay hydrated, stay breathing in that good ass oxygen. And most importantly, stay basic. I love you.